So, tell me about the origins, right? How did this all start, right? You're a Spider-Man 2 speedrunner, and then now we're doing pizza. What's going on?
Yeah, so I had just gotten third place on the 80% leaderboard, and thought it was getting to the point where I was pretty good. I was interacting with the other runners, and there was
Mhm.
always this at the time, and now there was always this joke about the pizza time meme and the terribly terribly compressed music in this game. So I had just gotten third place, and I decided it was time to experiment with that a bit. And I said one day I just sat down and ran it, and the video it's one of the worst videos on YouTube, I think, because I fail 5 times. Um,
Yeah.
I you can only hear the music in your right ear.
Yeah.
But it is one of the best shit posts on the entire platform as well.
Nice.
Unintentionally. And I got that time, the 45 minute, and I said, well, I'll come back to it when somebody improves it. And I just kind of sat on it and forgot
Mhm.
about it.
There you go. And so a meme was born.
Yeah, and it just randomly kind of spiked off. Like it got like 90, I think it's at like 90,000 views now for no reason.
I do love the fact that it's a one-ear adventure. This is just a
Yeah,
right ear video.
it's only in the right ear. You can hear me in both. It's just the music.
Mhm. Yeah,
Yeah.
that music is something else, and it's both a bane, a curse, and a boon. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's so good, but it's also so bad. But it's so bad that it's so good, but it's still
Yeah.
really bad.
And in that run there wasn't really any routing.
Mhm.
Like I had done the missions once before as a child, and now I was just kind of going into it. It was almost a blind speed run.
Oh man.
It was right on the cusp of that, and I learned full force just how difficult pizza percent is to a newcomer. With 5 fails, I had a fail on mission on pizza 15, and 2 on 18, and 2 on 20.
Mhm. What in particular about those missions would you say has potential for failure?
Um, Pizza 15 is the first like hard one. I'd say it's more it kind of sucker punches you because it's a difficulty spike.
Mhm.
Um, it's just it's kind of a straight line, but the stops are kind of very up and down vertically, and there's a part where you have to go over the water a bit, which can, if you don't know how to deal with it, can be really slow.
Mhm.
And the timer in that mission is just for some reason a lot harder than the others. And pizzas 19 and 20 are just full brutal. They're on another level. Um, I'd say for every run on the leaderboard that you see, there are two that didn't finish, of just people who tried the speed run and weren't able to finish their first run.
Oh man.
Because of missions 19 and 20, they're just, you have to know your stuff or you're just not going to finish. Um, and pizza percent in general is hard because you have to deal with flipping the pizzas,
Yes.
uh,
Tell me about
which
that.
is uh, particularly back then. The standard of movement was you would swing and then you would jump out of your swing and do a flip in the air to charge your next jump so that you could jump out of the next swing right away. Not necessarily the case these days, but back then that was the way to do it. And when if you do that or even really think about it, you flip the pizzas, you get like 4 flips in a mission, and you just lose if you and you can. I've had experiences where I just forget about the flipping mechanic for a second, and I do 4 flips in 2 seconds, and the mission's done.
Yep.
Uh, on top of that, uh, it'll happen if you roll at any given point. So if you're jumping at a high velocity and you don't reset your stick to neutral, you're gonna roll and flip the pizza. Sometimes the roll can be a little bit glitchy and it'll give you 2 flips if you like land on the edge of a platform or something.
Mhm.
And that's just, you just feel that when it happens. It's absolutely brutal.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and it makes not just going fast harder, it makes going up harder as well, because charging your jump to go to the next one is a good way to get height fast.
Getcha. Okay.
So you just have to really adjust, and especially when you're learning your muscle memory for the run, it is a constant case of fighting against yourself.
All right. So tell me about Thinks the Clown.
Yeah, so Thinks the Clown, he always, there's a saying in the Spider-Man community where you get thinksed, and that's where you have a good run and you think it's pretty good, and then it just gets beaten by a ton by Thinks the Clown.
Okay. So he has
out of
a
nowhere.
reputation.
Yeah, he doesn't for the most part he doesn't stream, so he'll just post this run that he got, and it's just usually he's probably if you put his mind to it, he's probably has the highest skill ceiling out of any Spider-Man runner. Maybe that's just from that mysterious aura that he's had, but but at the time he was let me see here. So that was June 28th, and yeah, he had just gotten world record in any percent. Or no, maybe he was about to get world record in any percent. So at the time he was this up and coming guy. He was running on emulator in any percent, so he wasn't like considered as much.
Mm-hmm.
But he dropped by in pizza percent, and did the run that I wanted him to, really, because at the time I had this weird idea of, oh, I'll come back to this when somebody beats it.
Right.
I didn't care that it was a terrible run. I wanted somebody to beat it first. I don't really know why. That was just kind of my mentality. But he got this incredible pizza percent run, at least for the time, of this 37. He still did fail once, but it was on mission 20, and it was barely. And a few things about this. There's a few quirks about this run. The first thing is it got a bunch. I remember getting a bunch of dislikes on YouTube because he turned off the music in game.
Yeah.
People really wanted that music.
Yep.
I'd say the biggest thing that he did to increase his consistency in the run was he used spider reflexes to slow down time, so that he could, because it slows down the world more than you. So it helps you to not only make these quick decisions, but physically go faster than the timer if you're behind, to not fail the mission. It's a strategy that's not really used now, but at a time when the skill level is low enough that you're still worried about failing these missions, that was what got him through the run. And that was yeah. And then he followed it up with just an absolute dominant period in any percent, where he lowered the record by multiple minutes and basically put me into a borderline speed gaming depression. Where I was just like, well, I was basically just like, I will never beat Thinks at anything. I might as well,
Yeah.
So I was like, I didn't bother to go after him in pizza percent, and eventually he did improve it again with his 33 run.
Yep.
And at that point he was absolutely completely dominant in any percent. Nobody really wanted to touch him, so he just was cementing. It was kind of cementing it with this pizza percent run as well, as how good he was.
There you go. Real quick before you continue, let me turn the oven off. I have some food in there.
Oh yeah.
Give me a second. Hang on.
Absolutely.
Okay. Sorry. All right. So he solidifies his lead
with his 30-44, which 33-04.
33-04. Yeah.
And that was the first run that didn't have any failed missions. I'd say that was really the biggest thing. I don't think he changed too much, just a bit more familiar with it and didn't fail at all.
Okay. And then you would eventually come by a few months later to take it back. So what prompted you, I guess?
I think it was the 33-04 that kind of brought me out of it, because at this point he he was the best in everything, and I saw that he was still improving, and I just thought, well, I can't beat him at any percent, but I can start with this pizza percent run.
Okay.
And I got to grinding a little bit, and I was surprised because pizza percent was not, like the fact that it was a no fail was the big deal, but really it was still pretty unoptimized. At that point, my movement was starting to get better. I was actually starting to, route pass through the missions. I was going over some buildings that I would normally go around and things like that. It was still a bit unfocused. And there were some things that were still bothering me. I remember about the run. Things like there's the pizza parlor is located in a very awkward spot in the map as far as swinging. There's not a lot of things to swing around it, so I was having a hard time with movement by the water in that run. I remember, and it was like a frustrating run, but I got through it. But when I came back, that made me realize that, like, okay, well, he is beatable. And that like kind of sprung back my return to the game in general. And I not much longer after that, I improved that a bit. I remember. And at that point, I had gotten any percent world record back. So it was time to celebrate with some pizza percent, of course.
Okay. That was a good run too. So 30-44.
Yeah, the 30-44. I remember that one because I finished the last mission with half a second left on the timer.
Yeah.
Just absolute heart attack of a run, but really that's what it's like. It's just for no reason one of the most stressful categories. But at the same time, it's just a fun, dumb meme.
All right. So you took, it's almost to the day, you took a 1-year break.
Yeah.
Before you got that sub 30.
Yeah. And that's kind of a running joke, is like no record ever lasts a year. So that ending 2 days before is pretty accurate to that.
It's pretty on brand.
And at that point, you could say that was part of an ongoing celebration, because at that point I had sub 1 in any percent, sub 1 hour, and I would just every once in a while I would dip in, and I wasn't at a time in my life where I could like stream all the time. I was in college and constantly moving around. It didn't really have a space for it. But whenever I was home, I would just like do a weekend and stream. Usually I would do some pizza percent in there. And on that run, I believe that's the run with the anime splits on it.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, this is a dumb little side note, but I had said in my 1 hour first sub 1 hour run that if I got sub 1 hour on that run, I would do anime splits for my next pizza percent run. But really that was just a culmination of like the past year of experience. Like, the reason why it doesn't, like, these pizza percent runs are so far apart is because I'm learning the game in other ways in between them, and pizza percent is kind of where I come back to show it off. And at that point, I'd say that this is like the first like really solid run of pizza percent. And this was another run where I decided that I would, I'm good, because really the whole thing was with the 29-minute guarantee. That was the whole reason I even came back for this run, was from that line in the movie where Joe Aziz says Joe's 29-minute guarantee is a promise, man. You got to make that. I thought it was perfect that we were pushing half an hour, and I might as well go for sub 29 while I'm at it to make Mr. Aziz happy.
It's all about Mr. Aziz, baby.
Yeah.
Yeah. One thing that I noticed is about this time, it maybe this is just speculation from the outsider looking in, but it almost looked like your web swings were like deliberate in a way. Whereas in the past they were
Yes.
almost more just like not spamming, but just like we're
Yeah.
just going.
At this point, that's kind of how improving in this game tends to go. Is you start out and it's just all instinct and
Mhm.
energy, and that's always a part of it, because no matter how good you get at swinging in Spider-Man 2, you will always have to you'll never be perfect, and once it goes off of that perfect line, you're going to have to react.
Mhm.
But this is I'd say this is the run where, like, yeah, I started to have a real idea of how each mission was going to go, which way to go and how to approach each mission. Like on Pizza 11, going up and down is a lot more deliberate, where there are the construction workers on the windows, and you
Mhm.
have to it's like that one. In particular, I remember always being like, you have to plan your swings 3 or 4 swings ahead of time so that you end up at the right height, or just react and be a god.
Yeah, well, it definitely sounds like you got the
Yeah.
wind in your wings, I guess, is maybe what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
So, all right, but you're like, dude, sub 29, we did it. I'm not coming back until someone improves this run, right? Like we finally did the meme, 29 minutes or less, the guarantee. We made Mr. Aziz happy. We can all go home, right?
Yeah.
And then this guy shows up.
By the way, yeah, he really came out of nowhere. I still remember the day that his run showed up on, like, a new run has been submitted for Spider-Man 2. I'm like, "Oh, neat. Take a look at it." Look at the time. Pizza percent 25 minutes. And I legitimately laughed. I was like, I've never heard of this guy before. There had recently been like some joke submissions.
Mm,
I thought it was just one of those, like, oh, is this just some guy, doing some joke
yeah.
run? Uh, but no, and I started watching it, and the more I watched, the more I realized, like, no, this is legit. And I was really shocked. Like, this guy just comes out of absolute nowhere and completely trashes me, to be honest.
Mhm.
And there's a part of me that wanted to be like, oh, well, that's not legit. But
Yeah.
no, he had a hand cam. He was legit, and the more I looked at it, the more I realized why, which was his style of movement. You could say it's somewhat perpendicular to the way that I typically move, which is I spam as many swings as I can, to gain as many boosts in those swings as possible.
Mhm.
By the way, his style of movement was more clean. He would do these simpler, longer swings, which might have a slightly lower skill ceiling, but it benefits swing speed 8, which is so ridiculously fast and hard to control that just slowing down just a little bit to get some of that control allowed him to, like, make some real deliberate moves,
Mhm.
um, to get through the missions.
Yeah.
And
Good.
yeah, go ahead.
Oh, okay. Um, I in my notes I said he almost looks graceful. It was
Mm,
weird. It was weird watching him. I thought, wow, there's something really different about the way that he moves around the city. And
yeah,
you put it better where it's like instead of spamming, or not just spamming, I say
yeah,
spamming, and maybe you'll agree it's spamming, but he definitely felt like he took like, okay, I'm gonna go here and we're gonna swing here and they're gonna swing
yeah.
there and there. Like it
It's
felt like he was.
slowed down. It's almost like he planned every swing.
Yes. Yes.
Which, especially, in pizza percent, where that benefits a lot, just taking the time, even if it's in theory a little bit slower, by having that control, it ended up being faster.
There you
Um,
go.
and another thing I have written down in my notes here for that run, so I did glance over it, is he actually went a reverse route on pizza mission 20. Like, I would start with the pizza that's furthest away and then wrap my way around and end with the one that's on the buoy. But he started with the buoy and went the other way around. Probably for safety's sake. Like, if you mess up on the buoy, that's it. So he probably, maybe it was for his nerves as well. Didn't want to have to deal with this very clench moment at the end. It could have been for time's sake, in case you needed to reset. Just something I noticed.
Yeah. I just had a thought and I can't remember what it was. He went backwards. Oh yeah. Something that I noticed, and maybe you'll agree, or maybe you noticed it as well, is I noticed that, by the way, specifically came back to the pizza shop from a specific angle. There's that like plaza across the street, and he would swing off of that only tall building in that area, and he would land on the objective like every time.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so you were saying earlier that like it's hard to sort of maneuver back from the water area, and I'm like, this guy is constantly making his way, like taking a little bit of a side street back.
Yeah, he would go a little bit out of his way to go that way. And that became maybe not the standard, but it became a standard. It became a way of doing things, which was avoid the water. Which I had an answer to that run. But yeah, he absolutely was one of those runners that you can tell just in the same vein as Thinks did things his own way. And one of those things when you watch the run, there's always a few things that you've never seen before in it.
That's good, man. He brings his own flavor, just like you do.
Yeah, and that's the thing about Spider-Man 2 in general as a game and as a speed game, is I can tell probably from a few seconds of gameplay if you showed me which runner it was. Just everybody swings just a little bit different. Everybody has their own flair and their own style and their own decision making in the moment. That it's you can usually tell just by looking at the gameplay who it is.
Nice. All right. Well, back to you, right? Dude, by the way, just drops this bomb on you, and you're like, fuck. Now I got to get it back. I got to get that good now. What's that like?
So, by the way, was sort of the first pillar drop. Like, I lost pizza percent, and then I lost any percent, like almost right afterwards. So I was in the second place dumps, and again, I thought, well, I've been in this moment before. I can get better at this game. Like, by this point, I've been speedrunning the game for like 3 years. And so I'd already realized the truth is that you can't stop getting better at this game ever. There's no peak. So even though, by the way, it seemed like the lead was pretty monstrous, I thought, well, I can eventually bring this back. And I just started grinding. Really, it was just like a week of grinding, and I remember one of my friends was saying like, oh, like he was just poking fun at me, like, how are you gonna beat that gap? And I think he knew he was kind of edging me on to go to keep trying with that. So I think it was 2 or 3 PBs that I got before I finally cracked it with the weirdest world record in Spider-Man 2 probably ever.
Wasn't it like barely less than a second?
It was less than a second. it was like the last frame of the second. I got the 25:52, and I remember just being so surprised that it was a world record, because I thought it was, because I golded the last split, so I looked at the, during that last split I looked at the time and I thought, well, this, I'm not fast enough, this isn't going to world record, but I'll get another 10-second PB, and then I'll be right there, and the next run will be it. So then to get that by 1 second was both surprising and surprisingly disappointing isn't the word, but it was like, well, I can't leave it here. That's just not right. I had to improve it more after that. It just wasn't right to leave it in a 1 second difference. I didn't want people to look at the leaderboard and think, wow, pizza percent's so optimized, it can't be improved. The world record and second place are a second apart.
Yeah.
It was just wrong.
I think even in that run, you said, this run's probably not going to PB. I think somewhere in the first 10. If I remember correctly.
That was something I almost did that so that I still sometimes do that, where I'll just be like, oh, well, this run's going to die soon. Just so that I can prove myself wrong.
And maybe if you lower your expectations and you were right, it doesn't hurt as bad.
Yeah. Something that, other than just, and I did take a bit of a page from By the Way's book, where I was not as slow and graceful, but I did slow down my swings, do some more big arcing swings to line up some shots. And another thing that I incorporated in that run was some wall sprint bounces, is we call them, on the side of the water, to avoid those awkward swings in no man's land. I would jump off of the street and wall sprint bounce on near the water until I was somewhere where I could swing again.
I've noticed they were very swaggy, very dangerous, very cool.
That's what it's all about. I love any time I get to use those.
So I think you probably had another stint with any percent, because about 5 months later, after you'd gotten that 25:46, you came back for a little bit more, like one last hurrah.
Yeah, so I got that 25:46, and I was like, all right, good. That's a solid enough one that it doesn't look like a fluke. I've improved it, and that, I had just never stopped grinding from that 25:52, and then I got another real solid. I got world record back 90%, and I was like, all right, well, it's time, pizza percent. I had to, and at that point, I had the sweep where I had every category,
right?
And I thought, well, now it's maintenance time. Let's widen the gap. It's time to show you got it. And I wanted to bring pizza percent up to like my current skill level at the time. And it was more of an update run than anything. I wanted to update the play.
That's fair.
So it was all about better movement and maybe some slight optimization of the routing.
Okay. Yeah, I think I remember seeing that. I'm like, it's better, but I don't see anything like super different. So I think it's just a bit of a maintenance.
Yeah, that honestly probably would have been it, because I thought that was a pretty good run. It was a 25:09.
Yeah.
I can't leave a 25:09. We need the 24.
Yeah, thank you.
It was too close not to. So it was one of those things where it was like, okay, well, let's just keep playing. And that one I remember took a little bit of a grind to just to get that little improvement. But eventually I did get that 24.
What a glorious 24 it was too.
Yeah. Great run. But even now it's like it's getting to the point where it's like, can we push it to a 23 or even lower?
Well, I think your sum of bests are somewhere in the high 23s, right? Mid 23s.
And not too long ago, Nate the Man released a TAS of pizza percent.
Oh boy.
And that got I believe it was a 1940, and he played it on. He played it. It's a great watch, especially if you only have to watch one part. The last, how he gets the last pizza on the buoy, absolute joy. But I think that's shown that there's a lot more potential, and that was on GameCube, which is a little bit slower than Xbox. So even with that, I feel like humans can push the sub 20 barrier for sure.
Oh man,
just can't. That's the thing.
I'm
with
gonna
this
need you.
game.
I'm gonna have to find that video. I'm gonna have to watch that.
I can. Yeah, I can link it to you.
Link it if you know where it is. But do you have any more plans? Or if you get another any percent world record, are you gonna come back for another victory lap?
I mean, I think I have to. It's just tradition at this point.
It is in fact tradition at this point. So
you gotta go back to pizza percent, and I've always been the type to kind of cycle the categories. It's just like I'll get a better time in X category, and then I look at Y category, and I think, well, that one's not as good now.
Yeah.
So it's just it's a never ending loop, and pizza percents, as the first side category, will always have that special place of the first one I tend to turn to. So yeah, I think that's absolutely in the plans.
All righty. Any final thoughts to get on the mic?
Pizza percent is fun.
The question mark?
No, it's on the surface, pizza percent is a terrible, painful category. And at an even higher surface level, it's a dumb meme, but it's also a pretty good speedrun. At the end of the day, it does show off a lot of the really cool movement in this game.
Yeah, man. I think just watching it, I was very interested. It's very visually appealing, and it's one of those. Speedrunning has a couple of barriers in that, like, there's things that are like technically impressive, and there's also things that are visually impressive. So if you're like showing it off at a marathon, right? The technically impressive ones aren't as cool usually to people who don't know.
Yeah,
the visually impressive ones are like, whoa! You can see
and feel the visceral action and and the hand pain.
Yeah.
Well, that was more of a GameCube thing for me, but yeah.
Yeah. So I think pizza percent. I don't know. I haven't watched any percent stuff, so maybe I'm not talking out of turn. But the pizza percent one for sure is like, it's so visually impressive and interesting that it's like, it's a cool watch. So.
I think it's something that all the categories share, but pizza percent is one. It's just it's all A to B movement, and it's for the most part somewhat unique in that as far as the categories go. There's no breaks for combat or boss skips or anything like that. It's just pure movement, and that is its greatest strength and weakness.
All right, I think that's a great way to wrap it up.
Cool.
Alrighty, let's go ahead and I'll get the recorder out of here.
I'll link you that.
Oh, please do.
Right here.